Hey everyone, this is Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology. Today I want to begin reflecting on the upcoming Grand Water Trines that are taking place over the next several months to end the calendar year. Yesterday I took a look at all of the largest remaining or most significant transits of the year that are still in front of us between now and 2026. In that exploration, I really highlighted the recurring Grand Water Trines that are going to be taking place. So what I'd like to do today is just begin to reflect on what that might mean. What does it mean that we have so many recurrences of the Grand Water Trine? I've got a list of 5 things for you to watch for, given the emphasis on water that these Grand Water Trines are bringing. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit. I've got some interesting things to share with respect to what ancient Western astrologers and ancient Indian astrologers said about the element of water that will also add into this conversation. And again, today, I hope that this is just an initial reflection on the Grand Water Trines that can start priming the pump, to use a water image. So anyway, that's our agenda for today. Before we get into it, remember to like and subscribe. It helps our channel grow tremendously, and everything that we do is really it really hinges on the support of the people who watch the channel, giving us that thumbs up, the subscribe if you haven't done that, a comment in the comments section. You can find transcripts of any of these daily talks on the website, which is nightlightastrology.com. We are promoting a retreat that we are taking to Mexico next year in June. So if you go to the website and you click on the events page, go to Immersive Retreat. At the end of today's video, there is an additional informational video tagged on at the end that will tell you all about the retreat. We still have room left. Come study with us in an immersive setting in Mexico. It's going to be really beautiful. I hope to see some of you there. This month, if you go to live talks, you'll also see that my talk for the month of September is happening on September 25th. I'm starting a new series on the pairings of the planets. It is absolutely vital if you want to do good astrology that you understand planetary combinations. So we're going to start by looking at all of Mercury's combinations in this talk. This is going to be something that's really helpful for understanding any aspects that Mercury might have in your chart and what they mean philosophically and archetypally as symbols. And then if you're an astrologer, this is going to be a great series for helping you understand planetary pairings and how to work with them when you're interpreting them in people's charts. If you can't attend any of the webinars live that I host every month, they're always the recordings are always saved for you. So on that note, also, next week, I'm going to be starting to promote my first year course, Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic, which begins again on November 8th. This is our annual fall cohort, our first year program in Ancient Hellenistic Astrology. I'm going to be promoting that next week. There's going to be a little informational video on the end on the website. So I'll tell you more about that next week. Enrollment's open now. The early bird rate is open. Tuition assistance, need-based tuition is open. So check that out. And again, more on that next week. All right, getting through promotions for the day, I'd like to shift our attention to the real-time clock, refresh us on the Grand Water Trines that are coming, and then talk about what we might watch for. All right, so easily the news for 2025 has been all of the planetary ingresses, right? The end of 2024, Pluto shifted into Aquarius to stay. Then we get Neptune and Saturn moving into Aries, Uranus moving into Gemini, Jupiter into Cancer, Jupiter, Saturn square from Cancer to Aries. So much activity with those outer planets. But one of the sneaky major transits of the year, I think we're sleeping on it a little bit, and it is the recurrence of these Grand Water Trines that are happening again and again and again here at the very end of the year. So I talked about them at length yesterday in terms of the timing, along with a bunch of other transits that really constitute the biggest remaining transits of the year. So check that video out if you missed it. But here's what I want to show you. So here we are in September. It's September 10th today as you're listening to this, or as it's the day that it's being released. And what I want to demonstrate for us is once the planets in Scorpio get along toward the end of October, excuse me, we come into this range of the Grand Water Trines. So here's Mercury, Jupiter, and the Moon all starting to get together. Jupiter's in late Cancer. Saturn and Neptune are both together now, again in late Pisces. North node of the Moon is in Pisces. We also then have any planets going through late Scorpio between late October, and the end of the year, starting to create this Grand Water Trine effect. The Grand Water Trines are not exact. They don't have to be. They're all within just a couple of degrees. That's close enough. So this first one in late October brings Mercury and Mars through the Grand Water Trine in the last days of October. And then what we're going to see is after those planets move through that Grand Water Trine, takes us into from late October into early November. Then secondarily, we're going to see the sun move through that space. That comes in the middle of November. Here's the sun in Scorpio, starting to trine Jupiter in Cancer, trining Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. Of course, they're both trine to Jupiter in Cancer. So that's the Grand Water Trine part 2. Go forward from there, and Venus is going to come in alongside of Mercury retrograde, who's coming back through the Grand Water Trine. Mercury comes back through the Grand Water Trine as of about November 19th. We get a new moon in Scorpio, by the way, that is featuring a Mercury cazimi opposite Uranus and all in the mix of the Grand Water Trine. That is super powerful. That's late November. And then here we have Venus and Mercury going through the Grand Water Trine. Venus and Scorpio pinging off from it late November, Mercury stationing and turning direct, and then coming back through the Grand Water Trine one last time in early December. So you can see here, once you get late October, all the way through the end of the year, it is one deluge after another, major downpours of astrological water. So what I want to do today is I want to give you 5 things to watch for. I want to give you 5 things to watch for that are coming specifically from the combination of so many planets in water. So this list is meant to capture the spirit of so much interconnectedness in water signs. There will be other opportunities between now and the occurrence of these Grand Water Trines to break down some of the individual planetary significations, like what does it mean that it's Jupiter in Cancer, Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, and then whatever other planets are activating it from late Scorpio. We'll be sure to do that. For now, what I want to do is just unpack the water part of it. What might it mean that so much water is coming through over and over again? So with that in mind, these are the 5 things that I would recommend starting to think about as the core elemental part of the transit. Number 1 on my list is emotional and spiritual coherence. Let me explain what I mean by this. First of all, these are all trines that are connecting the planets. Trines are of the nature of Jupiter. We have an exalted Jupiter in Cancer, who's also the host of Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, which is Jupiter's sign. So there is a lot of lift in this Grand Water Trine. That doesn't mean it's all going to be easy, but what it does mean is that experiences that can grant a sense of emotional coherence or spiritual coherence. What I mean by that are spiritual emotions or spiritual experiences that feel uplifting, inspiring, that deepen or provide a feeling that our faith or our understanding or our wisdom is growing or expanding somehow, or that we're having emotional experiences that grant a deeper level of understanding or wisdom, or that just provide a sense of coherence. We always think of thoughts and mental or intellectual understanding as what provides us with a sense of coherence. Like I understand life, or it's meaningful, or I see what's going on here, or my life feels coherent to me. But actually, emotions are just as necessary, and maybe even more necessary, for granting some more embodied, tangible, felt sense that life is meaningful, that life is purposeful, that hope is a real thing that lives inside of us. I have hope. I feel good. So one beautiful thing about all these planets coming together in water with such a prominent exalted Jupiter, who is present in all of the trines connecting are of the nature of Jupiter, is that we may feel like experiences are giving us a sense of emotional upliftment or spiritual, let's call it spiritual or emotional coherence. Like things are coming together. That doesn't always mean that it's easy to process. There might be a lot of powerful emotions, not all easy emotions, but that the emotional, spiritual currents running through this are somehow uplifting, or they make us feel like, wow, something has deepened and expanded and grown in terms of my understanding, my wisdom, my capacity to feel or hold space. So I love this as a generative, uplifting, positive way of looking at positive trines connecting with a very powerful Jupiter in the mix of water. So emotional and spiritual coherence is my creative way of putting that. Number 2 healing, restoration, and release. So I think about these like beautiful, connective, flowing trines, which generally are supportive of the nature of Jupiter. Again, with a really strong Jupiter in the mix, there's a little melancholy with Saturn and Neptune for sure, and some darker, heavier, weightier things with Scorpio planets always. But the substance, the depth, the power, and the positivity and the kind of nurturing, sweet, healing energy of Jupiter in Cancer, for me, suggests that these waters pouring through could be cleansing, renewing, revitalizing, that they could help us to release. If there's pent up emotions, release. If you need a good cry, cry. If you need to process powerful, experiences through grieving, surrender, these water heals. And so personal or collective levels of emotional release that have a healing, restorative, regenerative effect. I would not be surprised to see great upsurges of emotional healing or release on collective levels. These grand water trines make me think of something historical, like the grieving and horror of like the Trail of Tears. I'm sure you've heard about that in Native American and American history, like terrible, awful thing. But this idea that there are certain traumas that are collective that at some point may actually experience release or healing or some sense of closure or resolution emotionally. Some things are never resolved, right? So I don't want to be, I'm not trying to blow smoke up anyone's ass and be like, oh, this is going to heal everything. But the one potential of a grand water trine like this coming again and again and again is what needs to be surrendered, what needs to be cleansed, renewed, released. So I like that, almost like reconciling with heavy things and finding meaning in them, or finding release or surrender, healing, restoration. Number 3 on my list is heightened sensitivity and intuition. Water often corresponds with subtler dimensions, often very instinctual, physical, embodied. So when you walk into a room and you suddenly just get a hit that there was an argument in that room 5 minutes before you walked into it, that's the kind of psychic intuitive quality that water often points to. A little different from fire. But anyway, I think the question of, well, how do I feel right now? And what is the wisdom of what my body is saying in this moment? A heightened sensitivity or awareness of what you need or what you feel. Heightened intuition, an understanding of the porousness of the psyche, how receptive or sensitive or suggestible it is. Do there need to be better boundaries because you're getting flooded? That might come along with a sense of heightened. I'm really sensitive and now I'm becoming aware of it. And paradoxically, that superpower might make you aware of the need for more grounding exercises or better boundaries or something like that. What kinds of environmental stimulations are helpful and which are harmful, and a heightened awareness or sensitivity of that could actually be very helpful, but also maybe a little overwhelming. So think of the water in terms of heightened sensitivity, maybe heightened intuition, awareness of subtle things and environments. And that's a double-edged sword. It could be very overwhelming, it could also be very enlightening. Number 4 on my list would be fertility, creativity, and imagination. To me, water is one of the ancient significations for water is fertility. So this much water coming together, very creative, very generative. It's like water pouring from the heavens and, dousing a garden. And then, the next day, as you guys know, after a big rain, Ashley keeps a garden and it just explodes with life and green and blossoms and growth. So water makes things grow. Water is a creative stimulant. And so artistic, imaginative, inspired, emotionally charismatic moments of creative empowerment. Now, some of that may come through things that are more melancholic, that involve grieving or processing of difficult emotions. Nonetheless, the release could be powerfully creative. Number 5 would be, and these are the shadows really, overindulgence, drifting, being carried away by emotions or fantasies, lacking grounding, drifting apart, dispersion emotionally, a sense of apathy that comes with emotional overwhelm, being overly indulgent, like, eating your emotions because there's so much of them that you correspond that with, eating so much food. That's a thing that many of us do. So the potential for the water to correspond to overwhelm, and the overwhelm, the flooding, the difficulty with boundaries, the need to escape, the fantasy as a dark, not so healthy thing, the loss of conscious direction. Those are some of the shadows of so much water potentially, especially since some of them coming through Saturn, Neptune, again, can be a little melancholic and weighty and angsty, and late Scorpio too. Some of the stuff might be a little heavier, a little darker, not often very substantive with Scorpio, like very important to look at and feel, but nonetheless, it's easy to check out, right? So these are the things that I would watch for. All right, finally, I just wanted to share a few things that ancients said in both the Western astrological tradition and the Indian tradition about water. These are just random notes that I jotted down. Some of this comes from the curriculum of my programs. Water was said to be cold and moist, coming out of the Aristotelian elemental tradition that informed some of early astrology. And this means that a grand water trine may reflect that cold, moist quality, which means very receptive, very adaptable, and capable of taking things and blending them. So you think about that energetically, a space of receptivity, adaptivity, and the space that can bring different things together and blend them or unify them. That's water. Many pre-Socratics believed that water as an element was the arche or first principle of life, like Thales, who thought that everything came from water. Water is at the beginning of Genesis. Like there's something primally creative about water for ancients. That's part of why I said the thing about creativity in water. In humoral theory, water is associated with a phlegmatic temperament, which can be very compassionate, emotional, sensitive, great superpowers, emotional intelligence, but can also get apathetic, sluggish, and sort of easily overwhelmed and ungrounded. So those are shadows of the phlegmatic temperament associated with water. The water was generally linked to the moon and to the sublunary realm itself, which is the realm of fortune. So one of the ways that water is understood is that its constant ebb, flow, movement is very much like the impermanence of life itself, constantly ebbing, flowing, and moving. So whether it's the moon and the tides or the moon and water, the water and the constantly fluctuating realm of circumstances that we live in, the material world, were associated. So when you think of a great collection of water, you're thinking of the potential for major expressions of fluctuation and change, because one of the qualities of water was linked to the moon and fluctuation in the realm of circumstance, always changing, always moving. So major shifts of karmic circumstance associated with grand water trines, we might say. And then finally, Plato and then Neoplatonists later believed that because water is reflective, that water has the power to mirror something of the soul, which often remains hidden. Translate that into, like, say, modern Jungian psychological terms, and we could say the grand water trines provide opportunities for reflection upon things that are unconscious. So whether it's dreams or events that act as reflections like dreams do, a grand water trine may provide some pretty unique reflective capacity for us to reflect on deeper realities that are not as visible, that require this kind of unique mirroring that water provides. Now, Indian astrologers, some similar things, some different things. Water associated with fertility and soma, nourishment. So soma, nectar of life, nourishment, fertility, and some degree of satiation or satisfaction. So water fundamentally connected to the process of life, and with the sense of satiation, like quenching your thirst. So I wonder if we could extrapolate from that the idea that a grand water trine might be soul quenching on some level. A link to the moon and Venus, mind, emotions, fertility, relationships, pleasure, reproductive fluids. So you think of a grand water trine, you think of moon and Venus things, so things that are relational, things that are sensual, and things that are about both mind and emotions and connective tissues with other people as beings with feelings. I think that's really important because the idea that there could be a lot happening here with emotional connections to other people is powerful and probably a real thing we're going to see. Cool, receptive, and soothing. So the very similar to the energetic qualities in Aristotelian elemental theory, binding, unifying, bringing things together. Same in Indian astrology. Interestingly, water associated with in the Purushartas the domain of kama, because in the Kama Sutra, desire, pleasure, bliss. And so water as an element is connected to the human desire for happiness and emotional satiation. Like, I feel good, I feel fulfilled, like quenching your thirst again. Emotionally, do you feel satiated? Do you feel happy? Are your desires emotionally being fulfilled? So Grand Water Trines are going to bring up questions about emotional satiation, emotional happiness, and purifying. But water, like the Ganges, or there's a sense always that water cleanses, water heals, water purifies. Very similar in Western astrology. So all of these just notes that I jotted down, I wanted to share a way of prepping us for, a very astrologically rainy end of the year. I'm really excited to experience something like this because I can't remember. There's been a few other Grand Water Trines that stand out in my memory, but I can't remember one that's been so repetitive, so powerful with so many outer planets. It's a unique astrological signature. We'll all get to experience it together, and I hope that this has just prepped you a little bit for that to come. All right, that's it. After I sign off, learn more about the retreat, the Oracle Within. This is going to be an excellent opportunity to study together in Mexico next spring in June. So I hope to see some of you there. The early bird rate for that retreat is in effect until early October, so make sure you take advantage of it. All right, that's it. Take it easy, everyone. Bye. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around. I'm really excited to tell you more about the Oracle Within, the retreat that we'll be hosting in Mexico in June of 2026. So this is a little informational video that I've made to answer all the questions that you might have about the retreat. In this video, I'm going to start by telling you more about what you will learn on the retreat, what the focus of our studies will be, and then I'm going to tell you about our daily format and sort of what day-to-day life will look like at this retreat center outside of the actual material we'll be studying. I'm going to then tell you who this retreat is ideal for, what kind of background you may want to have before coming along. And then finally, I'm going to tell you more about how you can register. And of course, I'll take you over to the actual retreat website page so that you know where all of the information is located. There's also a really rich FAQ section that will probably answer any further questions you may have. On that note, let's start with what will I learn? So for a very long time, astrologers have talked about what astrology is. What is this? Is it some kind of karmic science? Is it a science of causal energies and influences? Is this actually scientific? Like, what order of knowing is astrology? If we say we can know something about reality, then how can we actually say that when it comes to astrology? These may seem like really deep, dense philosophical issues, but actually they're at the heart of what it means to really deepen into astrology. To have an understanding of what this actually is so fundamental and so helpful. Throughout all of the programs that I teach at Nightlight, I, of course, talk at length about my belief that astrology is a form of divination, that this is a language of signs and omens, very much like the tarot or the I Ching or many other systems of symbolic divination from all around the planet. We're going to spend a lot of time on this retreat talking about what astrology is. From a historical and philosophical perspective, what is divination? What is divination, not just in this tradition, but all over the planet? What kind of things does a divinatory view of the cosmos assume about the nature of reality, about the nature of the soul, and what we're actually doing as practitioners when we practice astrology or when we study it or when we use it for ourselves? So one of the teachers that I had that made a huge impact on me, and 12 years ago when Jupiter was last in Cancer, I hosted him for a retreat on astrology as a form of divination, is Jeffrey Cornelius. He wrote this book called The Moment of Astrology, Origins in Divination, which is, in my opinion, one of the best books on astrology ever written. This will be something like a preparatory textbook that a lot of students on the retreat I'll recommend read before you come to this course. Over the program for the course of a full week, in the mornings, we're going to be talking about the history, the metaphysics, the philosophy, the ancient mystics, and what they said about the nature of astrology itself. So we're going to think really deeply about what is astrology. Then in the afternoons, we're going to talk about how to connect with an oracle. Connecting with an oracle, connecting with astrology as a divinatory system, in other words, is about the marriage of intuition and being able to listen to the oracle speak while also utilizing the logic of craft. How do you marry those two things together? It's not something we take a lot of deliberate time to talk about as astrologers. So in the mornings, we're talking about history, philosophy, theory of astrology. In the afternoons, we're going to be talking about how to actually develop a living, vibrant relationship with an oracle so that it's informing how you approach the craft of a reading or how you approach the craft of astrology itself, if it's something that you maybe just use only for you in your own spiritual path. Either way, practitioners, hobby students are all welcome. So a lot of hands-on immersive work with charts, with live clients, with different systems of divination, and talking a lot about how to connect with an oracle experientially in our afternoons, where our mornings will be devoted to theory. It's about 30 to 40 hours worth of content that we'll be doing over the course of a week together, which means this is effectively like one of my advanced training programs condensed into a week. It's brand new material, brand new curriculum, doesn't appear anywhere else in the Nightlight programs, and yet everything that this program includes is really a condensation of the underlying philosophy of astrology itself that is a part of all of the Nightlight programs and all of my work as a whole. And again, most of that was deeply inspired by the work of Jeffrey Cornelius, who's I consider him something of a mentor in my life. So that's a bit about what you will learn. If you have questions about what you will learn, you can feel free to email me for more details, info@nightlightastrology.com. Now, I want to talk about the format of the retreat. When you're on this retreat, first of all, you're in a beautiful sort of jungle beach location near Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, for a week, which means we every day will not just be about theory and experiential, immersive, oracular work, which I'm very excited about. I have a ton of really good curriculum written for us as a group to go through, but in the mornings, we're going to have the option of starting your morning with breath work, yoga, meditation. In the evenings, we'll probably cap our days off with a little bit of centering as well. So my wife, Ashley, who I ran a yoga studio with for a decade, will be with me leading daily meditation and yoga. She is an incredibly good yoga teacher, very grounded and very, wherever your level is at, there'll be something there for you. And that's optional as well. So every day you have a little meditation and yoga. There's healthy food that serves people if you're vegan, vegetarian, or eat meat or whatever. There's options for food. There's a beach. There's a pool. There's some jungle hikes available. So our days will be broken into periods of free time, periods of rest, and periods of focused learning with things like meditation and yoga as options that are there for everyone. We'll also have some other meaningful group exercises that we'll do that will be, again, about how do you connect with an oracle? How do you make a conversation with the oracle a daily part of your life? So that's something of the format that you can look forward to in this beautiful kind of oceanside retreat setting. More information on the website. I'll show you that in a second. Who is this for? Ideally, you are someone who has a background in traditional Hellenistic astrology already. Wherever that comes from, if it's my courses or not, I want people coming to this retreat to have some pretty good solid background in Hellenistic astrology already. Or if you're from within our programs, then as long as you are enrolled in the year one program, you don't have to have finished it. You just need to be at least enrolled in it. Then you would be more than welcome. Any alumni from any of our programs would be welcome. And again, people who have some serious background in traditional astrology already, just because I don't want people to come along with maybe a modern background, but zero understanding of Hellenistic. So that would be who I would recommend this for. Spaces are limited and we anticipate the retreat will fill up rather quickly. So I really recommend registering as soon as you can. You also have the early bird rates to help you save. Finally, how do I register? I'm going to take you over to the website and you will find that here, the website, you can find it under the events page. Go to Immersive Retreat, or under the courses, it's our new course called The Oracle Within. When you scroll down, you're going to see everything that the program includes, basically everything I've gone over, maybe a little bit more details and depth there, as well as a little personal note for me that I wrote about why this means so much to me. You'll learn more about Marta Jade, which is the beautiful retreat center. You can check it out. You're going to book through us. So you don't book through the retreat center, you book through us, and then we take care of it. At the bottom, you're going to find registration options that will be available starting on August 11th. That's today. Right now, as I'm looking at this, we don't have the prices listed yet. It's still kind of under construction. But at the bottom, you'll find different available options for registering. The different options will include different room options, and there's different. So if you want a private room versus maybe sharing a room with someone we'll assign you with that's part of the group, or maybe even a small group dorm room where there's like 5 people are sharing a room and you're comfortable being with other students on the trip, stuff like that. So there'll be some options there for everyone. There's an early bird rate that'll be in effect until October, saves you a little bit of money off the cost. And then also all of the different room options that are available at different price tiers depending on and they go first come first serve in terms of like, so there's some ocean view rooms. The people who book first will get the best. We just go best available first and just run it like that. So anyway, again, as you are looking over anything on the page, you have any questions, email us info@nightlightastrology.com. I hope that this has been helpful. I can't wait to have finally an immersive in-person training program in a beautiful location. It's nice to do things online, but I really love having in-person time available. And I know that you're going to also really enjoy working with Ashley during the evenings throughout the week. Ashley will also have some little workshops that she'll be offering as options for people that are part of your retreat package that will be on plant spirit medicine topics and how to use different plant teachers to work with different astrological signatures in the chart. You got a difficult Mars, work with this plant. You got a challenged Venus, try this plant. So there's going to be some really fun little add-ons around plant spirit medicine that Ashley, if you know her on my channel, she talks about plants often, will also lead. So anyway, that's it. That's your informational video. I hope that this was useful. Hope to see some of you on the retreat in Mexico next year. Take it easy, everyone.